Welcome into the Fantasy Guides podcast. My name is Andrew Toyser, and I am joined today by the owner, the operator of Fantasy Guides and FantasyGuides.com, and no one else because our good pal AJ is still gone. Something to do with he got married, and now he thinks he gets some sort of honeymoon after it. Who is this guy? Who does he think he is?
I know. I was scrambling to update some of the weekly ranking stuff because I set it up, but then he's been updating it for the last 6 weeks, and then I forgot exactly how the process works. So I was texting him a little bit on his honeymoon, like, "Hey, sorry to bug you, but where exactly do I update some of this stuff?" So can't wait to have you back, AJ. But hope he's having a fun one.
I'm going to call him out. I'm going to say he didn't mind helping you because that man, the day after his wedding, went to go watch football with the boys right at noon kickoffs.
Oh my gosh, he's got a good wife.
Yeah, she hasn't murdered him yet. Christina, stay patient. Anywho's, we're ready. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, Andrew, I'm going to let you do most of the talking today. I have a bad cold. I just took a bunch of cough medicine. I'm sniffly like crazy, so I apologize in advance to people that might hear me sniffling during this start sit.
Yeah, Steven took NyQuil, so we apologize in advance for him snoring while we record the podcast.
I don't get sick, Andrew. I never get sick. I'm kind of annoyed by it. It's the first time I've been sick in a while, and I went looking through the cupboards, and that's the best I could find.
We're gonna pull through flu game, NyQuil game, fighting the sleep and the sick. Steven Rippey, it's him, everybody. We're ready for it, and we're ready for a full slate of games. Today's podcast, we will go over every single matchup other than Thursday night, because Thursday night's happening while we record this, that you guys need to know about going into this week. All the starts, all the sits, everything you need. If you want, I get up into chapters, skip ahead to the games you want so that you guys know what's going on. Of course, this week, it starts off with a London game. The Jaguars, they said, you may not come home. The way you played last week was so bad, just stay over there in England. Don't even bother coming home until you win a game. And that's what they're going to hope for this week as the Patriots take on the Jaguars, as the Jaguars get a home game in London. The spread is Jacksonville -5.5, over under 42.5. And I got to come right out of the gate and say, if this wasn't a London game, I would be pumping the over incredibly high. I think this game, because the defenses involved are so bad, actually has a chance to be way more explosive and viable for fantasy than a lot of people may think. Starting with the Patriots side of the ball, Drake May, that dude's a lot better than Jacoby Brissett. I don't know if you got to watch much of it, Steven, but Drake May is actually capable of throwing the ball downfield. He finds open players. He extends plays. He runs. Are you willing to start Drake May in what is an incredible matchup against the Jags?
I think in a Superflex league, I'm willing to. Honestly, in a 1 QB, depending, I think he's streamable. I got him as a QB 16 right now. Jacksonville, they're bottom 2 in every meaningful passing statistic as far as points allowed. We saw Caleb Williams tear him up. He finishes the QB1 last week in London. So I don't think Drake May will finish as a QB1, but I think he could put in a QB1 performance. I think it's possible. Now, I don't like his weapons as much, so I think that's what's going to hold him back. And it's only a second start, so I think you'd have to be pretty desperate. I'm not going to get cute with it, but I think he's startable. I think Demario Douglas is startable as a flex option. Basically, I don't need to go into too much analysis for this other than Jacksonville's bad against everything. They're bottom 3 to bottom 5 in every meaningful statistic for a running back, wide receiver. Even tight ends are getting the most touchdowns and red zone targets versus them. So I think this is a really good matchup overall for all of the Patriots. But unfortunately, there's maybe 2 or 3 startable. Maybe May, maybe Demario Douglas as a flex, maybe Antonio Gibson if Ramondre's out.
It just gets me excited that you can actually maybe think about starting Patriots players. Before you could do it because you had to. Everyone's hurt and bye weeks, and you had to start Demario Douglas for some reason, or you just hate yourself and wanted to start Hunter and Henry as he scored 2 points a game. Well, now those are viable players. Drake May, I actually will say, viable streamer. If you have Dak Prescott, he's on bye. If you have, who's the other team on bye this week? The Bears? If you had Caleb Williams and he's on bye, you can start Drake May if you need to in this matchup. It's the number 1 matchup in fantasy for quarterbacks. And Drake May, he can run. I highlighted it this offseason. I thought he could be top 12 if he played the whole year because he can run and he likes throwing deep. He's like Jameis Winston that can actually run.
Yeah.
And that's what we love for fantasy.
Yep. The other side of the ball, the Jaguars did this last year, I want to say. I'm not looking at it right now, but they had back-to-back games in London last year, and I believe they beat the Bills in the second outing when they played back-to-back games. I'm guessing it's at a different stadium this time. But as far as the Jaguars players, it's not an amazing matchup for Trevor Lawrence, so I'm probably going to sit him. He's not somebody I'm as excited to stream. I think you still roll with Brian Thomas because that guy's a stud. The running backs make me nervous, though. I don't know if ETN's going to play. If he doesn't play, I really like Tank Bigsby by himself. If they both play, it could be a bit of a headache. Evan Ingram had a really tough matchup last week. He did fine. He had 10 targets, caught all of them, Andrew. He's got that A dot that you love, like right around the line of scrimmage. So he's got a high floor. You got to start him. He's my tight end 6. Christian Kirk, maybe as like a deep flex. I'm not super excited about him, but it's a decent matchup. The Patriots are a kind of middle of the road matchup for wide receivers. So for me, Brian Thomas is the big one. And then Tank Bigsby, if ETN is out, I don't mind him.
This Patriots defense isn't your dad's Patriots defense, your grandpa's Patriots defense. It's bad.
It's not even Drake May's Patriot defense.
Even Drake May.
Or sorry, not Drake May. Gerard Mayo. Sorry, that's what I meant to say.
It's just bad. Their defense is bad. Their good players are hurt. They even traded away Matthew Judon at the beginning. The Patriots aren't good at stopping things, especially bad at stopping the run. If Travis Etienne doesn't go, Dearness Johnson's probably going to step in and get some work, which is going to be really annoying. So I'm not saying Tank Bigsby is guaranteed for sure going to be great. I think no matter what in this game, you can flex Tank Bigsby. Yeah. I don't think Etienne will go. I would have to guess. He was supposed to be week to week, and now he might play this week. That's not how that works. Yeah. I don't think Etienne goes. If he does, I'd still play Tank. If he doesn't, I like taking this one. The Patriots are absolutely getting gashed on the ground. They haven't stopped it all season. And so I'm in on Tank Bigsby this week, no matter what.
And the Jaguars being 5.5 point favorites, they're going to use Tank a decent amount, probably in a neutral, if not positive game script. So yeah, I'm with you on that.
One other thing to note, the Jags, I think this will be a good passing game for them. Not exceptional, but I think Brian Thomas can still eat. Christian Kirk can still eat. The Patriots rank just way towards the bottom in generating pressure against the pass, giving Trevor Lawrence time to do what he does best and loves to do, which is hurl the ball far downfield. He is one of the highest ADOTs in the NFL. I think he's going to want to do that. And actually,
just not to Evan Ingram.
Just not to, except for Evan Ingram. Everyone else goes 20 yards downfield.
He's getting laterals.
Exactly. We love it. Little handoffs, jet sweeps.
Yeah.
For those who love playing the college football game, it's taken over there. Always start Evan Ingram. You can also start Hunter Henry in this one. Any other thoughts there, Steven?
Nope. I think we can move on.
I love Evan Ingram being back. My team needed it so much in one league. Thank you, Evan.
I know. I just need a second half of the season resurgence because he was one of the guys I was extremely high on, and people are just like, oh, I'm done with him. But he didn't really get a chance to play because of the injury. And hey, right out of the gate, he's hit the ground running. So I hope he keeps that momentum.
10 catches, 100 yards. Keep doing your thing. Got another matchup for you, Steven. This one, I don't have to convince anyone it's going to be a good matchup, which means it's probably going to flop on its head.
Yeah.
But it's the Seahawks playing the Falcons in Atlanta. The over-under is 51.5. Yeah. Atlanta is favored by 3. It's a dome game. Teams play fast. Defense is bad at football. Yeah. It's everything we could ever dream of.
Yeah, actually, for the Falcons, so we obviously are starting everybody. Kirk Cousins, I've got him as QB 12 this week, which I think's fine. There's players on by. Like, honestly, he's kind of right in that Patrick Mahomes territory now, where if you've got
Kirk
Mahomes,
Cousins is better than Patrick Mahomes. Clip it, everyone.
I know they're in the same streaming kind of like conversation right now. So yeah, I think you can start pretty much every Falcon. I think even Algier could probably get a run in this one as a flex option if you've got some running backs on bye. Like
similar to Tank Bigsby in that previous game, if ETN goes.
Yeah, so I like all the pass catchers. Mooney, I think you can play. I like Pitts, obviously London. And then on the Seattle side of the ball, I guess my question, Andrew, is how comfortable are you? Obviously, you're playing DK. The guy could have had a monster game last week. Geno, I know you're a big Geno guy. I'm a big Geno guy. I think he's good this week. I got him as QB10. You're starting Kenneth Walker, but what about JSN and Tyler Lockett? Like, where are you at with those guys?
I'm not over the moon about them because each guy seems like a coin flip of which one's going to be good. You can start him every single week, though.
I went
Geno's
against
leading the NFL in passing yards.
I know. I went against Tyler Lockett last week and was not happy about it. I actually did
It was
have
all garbage time, all at the end of the game.
I know. Well, it looked good. I was like, oh, sweet, 4 points. And then like the game was over. I checked and he's got like 16. I was like, gosh dang it. But yeah, no, I think if you've got those guys, you've got JSN, you've got Tyler Lockett, I think you can play them. It really is roster dependent. But like you said, chase the points in this one.
100%. Just play your studs. There's so many points. And here's the thing. DK Metcalf might flop, but that means Tyler Lockett and JSN probably had 100 yards each.
Yeah.
So someone's going to fail, but you should start them all and chase it.
Yeah, Geno Smith leads the league in passing yards. It's been a little unlucky in the touchdown department. So we at the very least know they're going to get targets, probably get a lot of receptions, a lot of yards, and maybe hopefully they get some touchdowns.
Yeah, I don't know how he has just 6 touchdowns on the season through 6 games.
I do. I've watched the games. He's getting unlucky, like called back by penalty. That one game a few weeks ago, I think it was Thursday Night Football, felt like every Seahawk wide receiver is getting tackled at the goal line, and then Kenneth Walker's just running them in.
Yeah, Kenneth Walker keeps feasting, and I think he'll keep doing so in this one. The Atlanta Falcons, actually schedule adjusted, are allegedly good at stopping fantasy running backs. I don't buy it. I don't think they're actually that good at stopping the run. They're not that talented on defense. I just think it's been fluky.
Yeah, they give up the 8th fewest points. Yeah, sometimes this stuff can be. Well, the thing is, nobody scored touchdowns against them. They're still giving up the 7th most touches and the 8th most receptions to running backs. We know Kenneth Walker's probably got a 5 reception floor, I think, in this one. So yeah, I'm not
Falcons
scared.
are allowing the 9th most yards before contact. They just drop their defense way back and let you run it before they even try to tackle you, which they're frankly good at tackling. So yeah, start all of the Seahawks. We like Bijan, we like Algier, London, Mooney. Where are you at with Mooney in this one?
Maybe I'm thinking of a few weeks ago when he had like 16 targets or something.
1 million.
Yeah, those games are possible with him. So I like him. I think Mooney's in for one of those seasons, just one of those. Maybe not like he's not like a top 10 wide receiver or anything, but he's going to end the year probably close to a wide receiver 2. I think he's just that offense. Kirk Cousins likes him. He's getting targeted a lot, and yeah, I like him as a wide receiver 3 or flex every week.
The Seahawks are in a horrific passing defense. The issue is they can't stop the run so bad. Everyone scores on them, and it just doesn't matter if you have talent other places. They're not going to be able to stop you. Kyle Pitts actually has the best, I believe, schedule-adjusted matchup this week. 2nd best schedule-adjusted matchup against the Seattle Seahawks. I think what Kyle Pitts did last week was fluky, had another big catch, which is what he does, but you can't rely on that. But stay in the flames in this matchup.
Oh, yeah. No, it's a great matchup. Seahawks, and for years, they've been bad against tight ends. I'm not sure why, but it's no different this year.
A new regime and everything, and they still don't care. It's something about that Seahawks uniform that just doesn't. They can't see tight ends. They don't exist.
Not. No.
Come on, Seahawks. Be more accepting of that. See them there. Anyway, next one. Not nearly as exciting. We've got the Titans at the Bills. It is a 40.5 over under, and the Buffalo Bills are favored by 9 points. That is an absurd line, implying, what would that be, 12 points, 11 points for the Tennessee Titans?
Yeah,
and I think I might be shocked if they do that.
I think the only Titan I'm starting is the running back, Tony Pollard. He's been great this season. I've got him ranked pretty high. I've got him RB9. They're going to probably use him a ton. I'm not starting the wide receivers. Calvin Ridley had 8 targets last week and not a single catch. He has 9 receptions on the year. 9. That's like a riddle that he's got so many targets and just not. I was shocked when I saw that. It made me even more mad that I think I've only had Calvin Ridley talked about and start sits once. I recommended him as a sit against the friggin' Jets. And that's the game he had like 5 catches, 2 touchdowns. So yeah, Pollard's the only guy I'm looking to start in this one. I assuming you're in the same boat.
And it's actually a really good matchup for Pollard. The Buffalo Bills, similarly to what I was talking about with the Falcons, they drop everyone back. They want you to run the ball, and the Bills actually suck at stopping the run. on top of schematically allowing you to do it. So Tony Pollard should get the volume. I think Tyjae Spears is slated to miss this week too. And it's a good matchup talent-wise. You got to run at Pollard. Everyone else, do not dare do this to yourself. Do not start Tyjae.
I'm looking at the guy. They're bottom 3 in every meaningful running back stat. So yeah,
fire him up.
All right, and then on the Buffalo side, so James Cook, it really depends on, if he's good to go or not.
It looks like he practiced in full today.
Okay, so he's good to go. So yes, obviously you're playing him. I think he's a back. He's probably more of an RB2 this week because I'm guessing he's not 100%. So we'll see some Ray Davis in this one. And Tennessee's actually good against the run. They give up the 9th fewest fantasy points to running backs, and they're actually bottom 10 in every meaningful running back statistic: touches, receptions, yards, touchdowns. So temper expectations with him. Obviously, Josh Allen, it's another bad matchup for him, but I don't care. They're 8.5-point favorites. Buffalo's going to score. So he's almost always part of the touchdowns. You saw that last week. He actually didn't have a great game as far as yards go. His completion percentage was actually pretty good, but he didn't have a ton of yards, scored 3 touchdowns. So Josh Allen can always get it done. He's my QB4 this week. My question to you, Andrew, is you just plug in Amari Cooper in?
No, I knew that's where you're going. No, he's getting L'Jarius Sneed Island as the day is long because everyone knows if you don't let Josh Allen, it'll look like it did in these past couple of weeks. If you take away Amari Cooper with L'Jarius Sneed, now Allen still has no one to throw to. That whole offense is going to kind of be in disarray. I will not start Cooper in this one. I view him. I can start him, but wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4.
That's what I've got him at. I got him as a mid-range wide receiver 3. I think he could play well in this one. I know it's small sample size, but his first game in Dallas, he tore it up when he got shipped from the Raiders. I think he's a professional, and it's Josh Allen. I think he could have a good game, but it's the matchup that scares me a little bit. Tennessee giving up the 2nd fewest fantasy points. They're giving up bottom 4 numbers in every meaningful wide receiver category. So they are not an easy team to pass against. Probably like Shakir a little bit more in this one than I don't know that I like him more than Amari, but I could see him getting more of the easy stuff. Tennessee is tough against tight ends. How do you even trust Dalton Kincaid right now?
You don't, but you have to play him if you own him.
You do, yeah. I have him ranked every week now. It seems like it tight end 10 because what else are you going to do? Like it's hard to rank him any lower than that, but the Titans give up, this maybe is more for DFS, they give up the fewest fantasy points, receptions, receiving yards, receiving touchdowns, and red zone targets per game, the fewest. They rank dead last in all of those categories. So you probably have to play him if you've got him, but you could have better options. Let's just say that. Like there's a chance, depending on your league, you could have somebody else on your roster as a tight end that you could play over him.
Dalton Kincaid, it's not just even like that the Titans are playing bad tight ends, schedule adjusted, still the toughest matchup in the NFL. Yep. Start your James Cook, start your Allen, probably dodging the receivers there and Kincaid because you have to. Don't start a Titan unless his name's Tony Pollard.
Yep.
Moving us on to another one. Over-under doesn't get much better, but I mean, it's kind of like the last game where there's one good offense and one terrible one. It's the Bengals at the Browns. I think I just heard a statistic that the Bengals actually have Joe Burrow's never won in Cleveland while going into Cleveland. So he can't win in that matchup. I don't know. Vegas says he will. Cincinnati favored by 6, over under 41.5. And Steven, the Bengals have been dreadful against the quarterback so far this year. So you're willing to start Deshaun Watson, right?
No, he just lost his. No, I'll say that, or he'll put up 20 points. You watch.
Absolutely. 100%. And then he's going to, have you seen the burner account stuff for Deshaun Watson?
No, I haven't.
I got to go find the name. He's got a terrible name for his burner account. And he said something. The world was confident this was his burner before this week. He said some stuff trashing Amari Cooper. It's like, now that guy's gone. We have to get rid of the coach. I'll go find its name. He's
going to be out of the league, Andrew. It just feels like they don't even need him as a backup. He doesn't seem like a team friendly type of player. Like just go back to before all of the massage scandal stuff. Not to go off on a tangent here, but remember he was trying to get him trade his way out of Houston before that.
Yep.
Like he was sick. He was doing the thing, unfollowing them and talking trash about the owner and stuff. So he's been a headache for a while. So yeah, he's hard to root for Watson. Yeah, I'm not starting him. I don't care. He's had great matchups plenty of times this season, 2 weeks ago specifically, and he completely flopped. So yeah, not starting him. I'm not starting a Cleveland Brown. You could maybe start Njoku because kind of like Evan Ingram last week, it was a bad matchup, and Evan Ingram still got 10 catches for 100 yards. I could see Njoku getting, 6 or 7 catches for 70 yards. Like, I think that's possible. And for a tight end, that's pretty good. And this is a good matchup. Cleveland giving up the 8th most fantasy points to the tight end position. They give up a ton of red zone targets. Not that I expect the Browns to be in the red zone very often, but I think Njoku could do enough to be startable. Nick Chubb, I think he's supposed to play in this one.
He is.
But I'm not playing him. I think this offense is going to be bad. I can't imagine Nick Chubb hits the ground running. I think this is going to be bad overall for this whole offense.
Yep, that's the only question is you can start Njoku because you drafted him in a spot where you probably need to, and tight end sucks this year. So I'd say why not with David Njoku. Yeah. Nick Chubb, his leg broke in half. It went the wrong way. That's not supposed to happen.
I remember, Andrew, I had put up on a story the injury when it happened last year.
Yes.
Like not to be like funny or anything, but to be like look at what just happened to Nick Chubb, and you were like, Steven, I'd like you to take that down.
You can't have that up. I saw it.
You were like,
gross.
Like, people don't need to see that. And I was like, you know what? You're right. Like, this almost feels like witnessing a murder. It was so bad. So yeah, I'm with you. I think it's going to take a while for Chubb to be fully healthy.
Now the Bengals side of the football, I think there's your studs. You start them. We're starting Jamar Chase. I'm pretty confident starting T. Higgins. The Cleveland Browns are horrible at stopping the deep ball. Specifically, they've given up the 4th most yards on deep balls this year. That's specifically what T. Higgins wants to do, what Jamar Chase wants to do. What are you doing with the running backs?
I think I'm comfortable starting Chase Brown because I think he's looking like the better back. He doesn't need as much volume to get things going. I do think the running backs should get a decent amount of volume in this one because I think Cleveland's not going to be on the field a ton. I think they're going to be punting, probably some turnovers. So I think that the running back should get some play. So I'm willing to start Chase Brown as more of a mid-range RB2. Zach Moss, though, more of a flex option for me. I'm not excited to start him. He could get a touchdown, though. Like, if they get close enough, he could get a red zone touchdown. I just think between the 20s, I'm not expecting a big day from Moss.
Yeah, the Chase Brown takeover is real. It got 62% of the snaps last game, 53% of the rushing attempts, and really importantly, 54% of the route participation, which has been his Achilles heel, is that Zach Moss is reliable in pass protection. Well, it looks like they're just saying, Zach Moss, you're clearly worse than this other guy. Let's throw him out there anyway.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say to that is Zach Moss was questionable all week with that ankle injury. So I don't think he was fully healthy. He's probably still not fully healthy, though. Like, you get any kind of ankle sprain, it takes a little bit to come back from. So I do think there's a chance that he didn't play as much because of that ankle injury, but it's not to say it's not the same case this week.
So Chase Brown, Zach Moss still startable. Obviously, start your studs. I'm not chasing Mike Gesicki or Eric All.
This is still a good defense. This is like, it's actually, and honestly, where it's weakest is against the wide receivers, and you're starting those guys anyway.
Yep, you have to. It's the only determination.
Yep.
All right, go on to another exciting game. There's some good matchups this week. The last two aren't.
Oh, I'm excited about this one. Yeah.
This will be sick. Texans at the Packers. Both teams finally feel healthy, except for Nico Collins. But the Packers are finally back at it. I'm so glad it's not Malik Willis starting this game for the Packers. Texans at Packers. Green Bay is favored by 2.5 at home, but that's 2.5, so it's basically neutral. Coin flip of who wins. Over under 47.5. Good quarterback play everywhere, Steven. What side of the ball you want to start on?
Doesn't this feel like the same teams? Like let's just take the quarterbacks. Jordan Love, when he was drafted, there was a lot of people like questioning that pick, myself included. It was like, oh my God, they could have drafted Justin Jefferson. That was a terrible pick. What were the Packers doing? They look like geniuses now. And then you look at the Houston Texans, it was like CJ Stroud and that whole cognitive test. And it was like, oh my God, like, he doesn't look that good, and how he's been amazing. And also these wide receivers. We weren't super excited about the Texans wide receivers. Now, I know we don't have Nico in this one. But it was kind of like, we don't know what to think about these wide receivers. Same with the Green Bay Packers. And now these wide receivers look great on both teams. They feel like very similar teams. As far as the players, yeah, I think you're chasing all the points in this one. So I love the quarterbacks in this one. I love the wide receivers. And in both cases, it's a little bit tougher for the running backs. Josh Jacobs and Joe Mixon feel like the same running back. The matchup, it's a little bit tougher for Josh Jacobs, but they're playing at home. So I kind of give that, I think that equals itself out. So you're starting Jacobs, but just know that the Texans are giving up the 5th fewest fantasy points to the running back position. So I think it's going to be tough for him to get those yards, but Green Bay is going to move the football. He's going to get close to the red zone. He's probably going to get a decent amount of dump off passes. So you're still starting him, but I would temper expectations. And the same thing with Joe Mixon. Both of these guys, you're chasing the volume with the running backs. I guess my question to you is, so you're starting Diggs. We know that. We're starting Reed. God, these guys just feel like the same wide receivers and like players. But Christian Watson and Tank Dell. Let's go with those guys. Are you starting Watson or are you starting Dell?
Which one? Like one versus the other?
Are you starting either one? No. Not like. What do you feel? How do you feel about Watson? How do you feel about Dell?
I will start Tank Dell. Absolutely, 100%. I think he's kind of starting to get back into it and chase the points. He's got to throw it to someone. Tank Dell is taking over the Nico role, which just seems so ironic because they're not the same size at all.
No.
Christian Watson, I'll chase the points. You have to understand, if you're starting Christian Watson, you're chasing the over-under of this game and hoping he has a big play.
I think that's it. I think Tank Dell is more bankable. Like, he'll get more targets. Christian Watson, though, the Texans give up the 4th most receiving touchdowns, and he's the guy that could get the touchdowns in this one. So yeah, you're chasing touchdowns, but there's a very good chance you end up with like one catch with Christian Watson.
Go back to last year. Christian Watson was the alpha of this offense. Like every time he was on the field, they were targeting him, and he's, believe it or not been very healthy this year. Hopefully he comes back. Maybe he will be something down the stretch. Adam, pick him up. If he's on your waivers, go scoop him up and just see what happens. You don't have to start him, but I would definitely check out what you got out of that.
I'm just rolling with this narrative again. Like even the tight ends feel the same. Like
exactly that.
Like even the names, Tucker Kraft and Dalton Schultz, those are like tight end names. Similar to what I said about Dalton Kincaid. Like if you have them, like Schultz with Nico in, he's like, I'm not starting him because he's like the 3rd option in the passing game. But in this one, I think he's streamable. Green Bay giving up the 3rd most fantasy points and receptions to the tight end position. So I wouldn't be shocked if he puts in a decent performance. So yeah, I think he's streamable in this one. Tucker Kraft, for similar reasons, and now it's a tougher matchup for him. Houston is pretty good against the tight ends, but it's just this position so bad that I think both are startable.
In this state of the NFL, you got to start whatever tight ends are in games where you're projected to score a lot of points. And that is this football game up in Green Bay. Hopefully it's not too cold and that doesn't slow things down, but I don't think we're in that part of the year yet.
Nope, not yet.
I love it. Start your studs. Get excited for it. Moving on to another one that I'm just not nearly as excited about, but I definitely get to watch every minute of. The Dolphins are playing in Indianapolis to take on the Colts. The spread is Indy -3, so they just said you're at home. Here's the advantage. Over under is 43.5, and I don't want to watch this. Anthony Richardson's back. That's at least entertaining for the neutral fan. He's gonna do things that make the game exciting, good or bad.
Yeah, and I think the thing is with Anthony Richardson, like when I was going through the rankings, I look and I see Miami. They give up the fewest fantasy points to quarterbacks. They give up the fewest completions, the 2nd fewest passing yards, fewest passing touchdowns, fewest rushing yards. But I think that's because people can kind of run against them.
It's because they stink. They're always losing. They don't need to throw.
Teams don't actually have to throw against them. So when I was going through the rankings, I was like, man, I wanted to just rank Richardson, like not even rank him. Like it just looked bad. But when you actually look at the matchup, they're playing at home. They're favored. I still have him as a mid-range QB2. I got him as like QB17 right now. I kind of want to wait and start him when I can actually see something. But Andrew, I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up with 2 touchdowns in this game and rushes for 60 yards. So it just really depends on who else you've got. But I kind of want to wait and see with him. What are you with Richardson?
He's Justin Fields. It's just Justin Fields from this year or even a couple of years ago. Bad passer, good runner. You can't ever sit him unless you have like an incredible. If you drafted Baker Mayfield and Anthony Richardson, start Baker Mayfield. Sure, that's reliable. But if you have Anthony Richardson, this dude can still get 20 points a game because he's still going to run. It's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I guess the running backs. Are you?
The
It's
Colts?
a decent matchup, but yeah, I'm talking about the Colts. Sorry.
Well, your option is Tyler Goodson because Jonathan Taylor and Trey Sermon aren't even practicing.
I know. If Goodson's the only back, though, I think, yeah. I think
He
if
was
you're
good last
desperate,
week.
he was. I started him in a league. I got, what, 10 fantasy points from him? So I think he gets you at least
What
that.
league did you have to start him?
The one that I'm in with you where I don't have any running backs. Yeah, no, so I think he can at least get you 10 fantasy points.
Yep.
I do like the running backs for the Dolphins in this one, though. Like,
I do too.
I think both A-Chain and depending on how deep you are, I think either he or Mostert could have a decent game in this one because it's a very winnable matchup for the running back position. The Colts are just awful against running backs. So I'm definitely playing A-Chain. And then if I'm in a deeper league, I'm considering Mostert. And then you have to play Tyreek Hill in this one. You just have to. It sucks. Yep. I'm not excited about it, but you're forced to. Where are you at with Waddle, though?
Benching until further notice. He is wide receiver 4-5 territory. I have to be decimated to play him.
That's literally where I've got him at wide receiver 46. So that is 4-5 territory. Yeah. Tyreek Hill, I've got him as borderline wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, because he just needs one play. He can do it on one play. And you know what was it? A couple weeks ago, he had like 3 rushing attempts. So
he had 10 opportunities in that last game before the bye.
Yeah. Wouldn't be actually surprised if Tyler Huntley put up some points in this one. Some points. Like points.
Because he wasn't putting up any before, like literally none.
No, so I think he can put up some. But yeah, for me it's Tyreek, it's A-Chain, and then that's probably about it.
Yep. I do think the running backs could do well in this one. The Colts, watching them with my eyeballs as it hurts me to do so. They're really bad at stopping the shiftier backs. The Najee Harrises, they were really good at stuffing at the line of scrimmage and not letting them get any more. Devon A-Chan style backs specifically are going to eat me alive and make me want to hate my life on Sunday. But that's why we watch football.
For sure.
All right, let's get to another matchup that looks way better than that one. And maybe I'll just watch this instead. It is an NFC North clash of the Titans. And the NFC North, quickly just the best division in football, because why not? The Lions go to Minnesota to take on the Vikings, who are favored against the Lions. Minnesota -2. Who would have thought that going into the year? 50.5 over under. And you know what's the best part about the Lions now? Aiden Hutchinson, so sorry, buddy, praying for you. However, now this Lions defense just got worse. Let's throw the ball, run the ball, offense, score points everywhere, Lions.
No fantasy analyst would ever admit it, but there's a little part of all of them. They're like, ooh, this defense is going to get a little softer. This lends to more shootouts. It wasn't a shootout with Dallas because that defense was so good. Now, obviously, they're improved all around. Like, one guy can't do it, but you take away a guy like that who's a game changer. Like, he was going
to be Defensive Player of the Year.
Well, that game when they played Tampa Bay, Baker Mayfield, every time it looked like the Bucs were about to score, he was sacking him. Like, he was tearing him up in that game. So yeah, no, this is going to be drastically different. So if we look at the Lions, obviously you're starting the wide receivers in that one. You're starting Sam Laporta. I got him as tight end 7. We're starting to see him look a little bit better in that connection, come back a little bit. And it's a decent matchup. Vikings giving up the 7th most points to the tight end position. They're giving up a ton of points to the wide receivers. So they're giving up the most points to the wide receivers because teams are having to chase Minnesota a little bit in this. Jared Goff, it's 9th fewest points. They're on the road. So he's definitely more of like a, dare I say desperate streamer? Maybe not desperate, but I'm not excited to start him just because it's on the road. It's a tougher matchup. And I'm not super excited about the running backs. Like, it's a really bad matchup for the running backs. I'm starting Gibbs. I'm starting Montgomery, but I have them ranked a little lower than I do typical weeks.
It's just Brian Flores. His devil magic is going to try to stop this gas machine that is just there to beat the crap out of you. And the Vikings have been getting the better of Jared Goff. Last game they played, he threw the ball 40 times and only had 14 fantasy points. Jared Goff is really bad against this Brian Flores scheme. And I'm worried. That's what I'm afraid is the Vikings could slow down the Lions offense. If the Lions had any sort of competent defense, I might be worried about this game not hitting that over.
Yeah.
The Lions will have to start chucking the ball like maniacs. Points will be scored in this one. They just won't look good.
Yep. Other side of the ball, Sam Darnold. Tough matchup for him too on paper, but again, we have to remember Hutch is not playing, so you can't really look at this the same way because he's going to have more time. So I like Sam Darnold in this one. If he was playing, I'd probably have Sam Darnold ranked a bit lower. I've got him at QB8 this week, which is pretty high. So
Yeah.
I like Sam Darnold in this one. I like Jefferson. I like Addison. I don't know what's going on with Aaron Jones, if he's going to play or not. It's not a great matchup for the running backs, but again, we got to remember Hutch is out. So if Aaron Jones is playing, you're playing him. If he's not playing, you're probably playing Ty Chandler. I'm not wrong there, right?
You chase the points, but it's a bad matchup. I don't think Aaron Jones is going to go in this one. It's a hip injury that turned into a hamstring strain because he was overcompensating. I'm going to assume no Jones. Chandler, you can start, but it's like a flex. It's not exciting.
Remember we said you can always start Aaron Jones until he gets hurt, and it happened, and now we're back to frustrating Aaron Jones times.
But you're starting Justin Jefferson. I do not think so. I have not heard such things. I feel like you would normally see something on Twitter.
I haven't seen
anything.
Get
ready for the return.
Yeah, I know he's been activated to. No, they said, I'm just looking. Sorry.
You're good.
Not making predictions on when he'll return. That means he's not playing this week. Okay.
No,
so
I would not. You're not getting TJ Hawkinson. I would not start TJ Hawkinson no matter what until you have to see success from him before you can begin starting.
Watch a game first.
Exactly. His knee injury was bad.
Yeah.
Don't want anything to do with it. We got another divisional clash on for our next game. This one is in a much worse division and is not nearly as high scoring, but we take football. Eagles go into New York to play the Giants, a matchup with so much history, and it's got some players in it. The Philadelphia is favored by 3 on the road, over under 42.5. Thank goodness Malik Neighbors is finally back, because I just missed watching that guy. He's absolutely dynamic.
Well, hey, you know what? I think you're being a little harsh on the Giants. They've actually been decent for fantasy. We had Malik.
But you can't start those guys.
No, what do you mean? You can start Malik Neighbors.
Robinson and Darius Slayton.
Are you kidding me? Have you not been watching what Wandale's been doing?
He's getting good, you but you don't want to start him.
No. I feel okay, especially against Philly. I think you can start. I think you can start Wandale Robinson.
Yeah,
he is. Sorry, I was trying to find this thing. What's his point totals recently? He just had. Oh, come on, it's not working for me. Okay, yeah, he's 10, 16, 18, 13. Those are his last game logs. Like, that's not bad. He's hit 10 points in 4 straight weeks. He's hit double-digit points in every game but one. And even in the game, he scored 9.5. So, yeah, he's a flex. He's definitely a flex. So I think you can play him. Obviously, you're playing Neighbors. I'm not playing Daniel Jones. He's more of a back-end QB2 for me. The running backs, though, gets a little tricky because we saw all the volume for Singletary early in the year. We saw it from Tyrone Tracy more recently. But if both are playing, less exciting times. So I'm probably avoiding the running backs in this one. You agree?
You just have to. Dude, Tyrone Tracy looks so good. He looks so good. But the issue is Devin Singletary isn't bad. He's the best running back in the NFL. So it's not like either guy is going to really get a stranglehold on this offense. It's just going to suck for both of them.
It's going to be like this all season, I think. And I think that the coach, Dabble, I think he brought Singletary in from Buffalo. Well, not from Buffalo, but when he was in Buffalo, he coached him. And I think he trusts him. So, and like you said, he's not bad. He's a good running back. So, yeah, it's going to be a bit of a headache. Eagle side of the ball, though, just start everybody, but temper some expectations because this is a tough unit, especially the defensive line for the Giants. They're actually really good. We saw the Achilles heel, though, of Saquon Barkley last week. Yes, he's a top 5 running back, no doubt about it, probably top 3 running back, but he's not catching passes in this Eagles offense. And if he doesn't score a touchdown and the team like Cleveland last week can stop the run, you might get a bad game from him. Like he's not. That's what I liked about Breece Hall this year, although he's had some bad games too. But Barkley used to have an out. A lot of these running backs have that receiving out. Barkley doesn't have that out anymore. So you just have to roll with it. He's going to have these kind of games. I don't think it happens this week, given that they're favored, but they're not favored by as much as you'd think. 3 points isn't a big. They're not favored by a ton there, and it's in New York, so I could see some upset kind of things happening, but who cares? You're starting all your Eagles.
Yeah, I don't know what the Giants' plan is going to be. They've been playing with the most light boxes in the NFL, which you just can't do against the Eagles because they'll kill you if you do that. So Saquon should be fine in this one. Start your studs. But yeah, Giants, weirdly good at football this year. I think it's underrated. I'm still not picking them to win
Yeah.
this one, though.
Yeah, and they kind of had a weirdly, if I can say that, good defense last year. The only, do you remember Jalen Hurts played them twice towards the end of the season, scored, what was it, like 24 points in week 16, and then he scored no points against them. He scored like 1 point week 18. It's one of those division games, and that was in New York when he got 1 point. So you never know. You got to start him, but weird things can happen.
Screw it. Go bet the Giants. Nick Sirianni vibes are bad. The Giants are at home. Bet the Giants money line. Thank me later. Let us get us on to another game. The Raiders go into Los Angeles to take on the Rams. The Rams are therefore favored by 6.5. The over-under is 43.5. This is our first PM game that we're talking about out there on the West Coast. Steven, it's just a lot of garbage if Cooper Kupp doesn't play. It's Kyren Williams and a ton of dudes. Nobody wants to start. I guess Brock Bowers on the Raiders side.
Although I think the Rams defense could make a start in different leagues because this Raiders offense without Adams and what they got going on there, I don't even know if Jacoby Myers is playing in this one. Let's see. Did he get a practice in today? This is another practice. We're probably not getting, and that was just 14 minutes ago, actually.
Fire up Brock Bowers.
Brock Bowers, yes. Love him, but yeah, I think you actually start the Rams defense in this one. It's that bad. Kyren Williams, obviously, I've got him ranked number 1 this week. He's my highest ranked running back. So he's going to go off. Raiders giving up just top 10 numbers, I should say, to every meaningful running back statistic. Matt Stafford, it's a great matchup for him. I like him a lot better if he's got Cooper Kupp. If he doesn't have Cooper Kupp, it's really hard to throw him in as a starter. Cooper Kupp, he plays, you're starting him. I don't care. This is a bad. Weirdly enough, they're giving up actually not that many points to wide receivers, but it's not because the Raiders defense is good. It's just
because they stink.
They stink, and it's kind of like we've seen that in the past, like Houston a few years ago, where the quarterbacks weren't giving a lot of points against them because they were just running out the clock. They'd get these big leads and just run the clock. But yeah, it's really just, for me, it's just Kyren Williams and maybe Cooper Kupp if he plays. And then for the Raiders, it's just Brock Bowers.
Without looking, how many targets has Brock Bowers had these last 2 weeks without Devontae Adams?
Total. I'm going to guess he had, 9 maybe last week, 8 the week before?
He's had 22 targets over the last 2 weeks, an average of 11. He had 10 and 12, and he had 97 yards in one game, and he had 71 in another. It's just Brock Bowers season.
Yep. He's and he. We've talked about this on posts and stuff, but he's got I think the second easiest schedule moving forward for the rest of the season. So he probably will finish as the tight end 1.
I really want Gardner Minshew to.
I do too. How weird would it be if back-to-back years we have a rookie tight end finish number 1 in scoring for tight ends? That's crazy.
I'm here for it. Brock Bowers, baby. Got him in our Dynasty League. We're in together. I'm excited. Never wavered. I'm ready for some Bowers out in Vegas. On to another matchup. Weirdly, high over-under, and the Panthers and Commanders matchup. In the DMV area, Washington is favored by 8. The thing is, the defenses for both teams are absolutely awful, making our over-under 51.5. You can weirdly start guys left and right here, and most of these guys were not
almost
everyone. Most of these guys weren't owned at the beginning of this season, and now all of a sudden, this is a great matchup with a lot of points.
Yeah, and we're not going to get Jonathan Brooks, I don't think, this week, but that means Chuba Hubbard locked in again. He's a top 12 running back. Yeah, actually, I was a little surprised it was 8 points because I feel like the offense, at least for Carolina, is competent enough, but yeah, overall, like, this defense can't stop anybody. I think Andy Dalton's streamable in this one against Washington. They'll have to chase. Chuba Hubbard, I got him as my RB10. Deontay Johnson, I've got him as wide receiver 8. I think he should eat in this one. Still hard to trust the other receivers, though. Like, I like Leggett, but he's more of like a wide receiver 4, only if I'm desperate, even though the matchup on paper is there. And then on the Washington side of the ball, let's see, Brian Robinson, he was limited at practice. So you'll want to monitor that. Like, if he plays, though, you got to throw him in there. If he doesn't play, I think you could play Eckler in this one just because the matchup is good enough.
You should play Eckler in this one.
Yeah, you should. Just the matchup's good. Actually, Yeah, the Carolina giving them the most fantasy points too. They must have surpassed Buffalo for the most points to the running back position. So yeah, you must play, like Andrew
Yes.
said, you must play him if he's a go. And then Terry McLaurin, he's a wide receiver 12 on the season, Andrew. So yeah, obviously you're still playing him, and
It's
Zach Ertz as well. Zach Ertz is my tight end 12 this week.
Is there any other quarterback you'd rather have this week than Jaden Daniels?
No, probably not. No, probably not. Where do I have him ranked?
Per your rankings, I'd
I've
love
got
where
him
you
at
in there.
2.
Yeah,
Oh
you got
well,
Lamar Jackson. Yep,
Lamar.
we'll get to that matchup here soon.
Yeah,
But it's just so sweet. Jaden Daniels, I was a hater, firmly a hater. Not completely sold that like he's going to be some top MVP candidate. I don't think he's that, but he looks the part. He's getting in every morning and grinding. He's doing the things that he wasn't doing in college. My eval, I think, was correct. He just got better, and good for him. Old dog learns new trick in the NFL.
Andrew, you're allowed to be wrong. It's fine.
It happened this one time. It's happened once. Put it in the history books. It won't happen ever again. Start everyone. What was the over-under for this game before the season started?
Oh, yeah. Well, if Bryce Young was playing and we didn't have Jaden Daniels, it'd be like 34 points.
No one would watch it. Now all of a sudden, it's must-see TV.
Especially for fantasy people. This is like people are excited about the Commanders because they're good.
Mm-hmm.
Carolina not so good, but the offense is fun for fantasy. But for fantasy, this is a goldmine.
We're all in. And speaking of must-see TV, this one's actually good for NFL purposes. Weirdly, not all that great for fantasy purposes, but there's still some weapons. The Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes are going to go march on over to San Francisco, try to mine some gold, take some wins. But San Francisco's favored by 1.5. The over-under is 46.5. I like the under. I think that's only a 46.5 over-under because everyone's going to bet the over in a Chiefs-Niners matchup, but I don't think that's correctly adjusted.
Yeah, this does feel like an under for sure. This feels like one of those dogfight games where Mahomes probably finds a way to win it scrappily at the end. But he listen, guys, ever since I traded for Mahomes, I must be his kryptonite for fantasy. The guy still wins because he's Patrick Mahomes, but he's been terrible for fantasy. Yeah, I've kind of been my QB 13. We were just talking about Kirk Cousins. I think I have Kirk Cousins one spot ahead of him in my ranking. So I don't know that Mahomes is a lock and loaded starter every week. I think he's kind of turned into a streamer. So I think he's a streamer this week, depending on who you got. Obviously, you're playing Kelsey. What are you doing with the running backs, though, Andrew? Because Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I think he's going to be activated for this one. So who's getting the work?
If I'm going to start anyone, it's going to be Kareem Hunt, assuming maybe that Clyde lost this job fair and square before the season started. But I'm not saying it's because Pacheco is good. I'm not sure if it's because Clyde's way better than Kareem Hunt. In fact, I heard someone put it really well on Twitter. In the offseason, the Chiefs picked Clyde Edwards-Helaire over Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt was a free agent in the offseason, and they didn't bring him in. But Kareem Hunt, maybe. I don't want to.
I know. It's a tough matchup. Not as tough as it's been in years past. Like years past, like last year, 2 years ago, this would have been like, do not even think about it. But 49ers haven't been as good against the running back this season. They're like they're kind of right in the middle. And Kareem Hunt, for a couple of games, he's probably going to be good. He looked good. He had 29 touches a couple weeks ago and actually looked good. Didn't look great, but he looked fresh.
Fine.
If he has to play a full season, though, I think he starts to look like Zeke by the end of the season would be my guess.
He physically looks like Zeke. Yeah. He's chubby. Kareem Hunt's chubby.
Now, Juju Smith-Schuster, I don't know if you saw, Andrew, popped up on the injury report. I think he tweaked his hamstring in practice.
Oh, good.
So that means if that happened today, which is not it's not super specific on the injury report, it says was added to the week 7 injury report. So obviously he hurt in practice because they were on bye week. That's not good. That means there's a decent chance he doesn't play, which makes me love Travis Kelce that much more. Makes Worthy more startable in my opinion, but that's probably Worthy's definitely startable if he's out, but this offense in general, more to your point on the under, like I'm just not excited about this offense.
No, it's two really good defenses and two offenses that aren't firing at all cylinders, that aren't fully loaded. And what we saw in the Super Bowl was that the Niners could run the ball. And I think that is where the Niners are going to try to do is run the ball. But their running back Christian McCaffrey's hurt. Their backup, Jordan Mason's hurt. And hopefully Jordan Mason's full go. But Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel both scored under 10 points in that Super Bowl game. I can see the same thing happening.
Yeah.
But you have to start. You have to start him. You have to start them.
Yeah, and I do think that, especially not, it's funny, they just brought in Juju, and I'm talking about how he might not play, and now I don't like the Chiefs as much. He was a security blanket for Patrick Mahomes. I like the 49ers in this one. I think that they should be able to win. They just have too many better weapons than the Chiefs do. Brock Purdy, I think he gets it done. I think George Kittle looks like the best tight end, other than maybe him and Brock Bowers are fighting to look like the best tight ends in football. Firing him up. Chiefs not very good against tight ends this year. One of the worst, actually, giving up the most fantasy points to the position. Deebo, he hasn't looked good in a little while, but you got to roll with him. Chiefs are good against wide receivers and running backs, but you just got to play them. You got to play Deebo, you got to play Mason, you got to play Ayuk.
I'd rather play Deebo over Ayuk, but that's not saying a whole lot. George Kittle, tight end one with the best tight end matchup. We will absolutely roll with that.
Now, I have to ask you, Andrew, because maybe you've watched the games. Does Isaac Guerrero actually wear number 49?
I actually have not looked into this. I could never. I don't think so. I feel like that would have stood out to me when I was seeing them.
I just
31.
Okay, I need to update my guide. I'm looking at it. Did he even wear that number in college? I don't even think he wore that number in college. Don't know why.
I just think he got the "you're not making the roster" number, or "you're a bum, you're never playing" number, and then they gave him an actual number.
Or it's either that, or when I was entering him into my draft guide, I just put 49er in the wrong spot and gave him for his number just 49. I don't know what's going on, but I need to fix that.
I need to look into this. Is 49 a retired number for the 49ers? Feels like it should be.
Oh, well, I was thinking Ronnie Lott, but he wore 42. Yeah, I don't know.
Someone vet that. Where's AJ to look into these things for
us?
I
know. We're missing all kinds of weird, odd data.
I'll text him to look into it. In the meantime, I'll put us onto a game that I don't want to watch, but man, it's got some.
Come on. This will be fun.
Got some points of excitement because it's just going to be hilarious. It's the Jets taking on the Steelers in Pittsburgh. The Jets are favored at home favored on the road by 2.5. Over under is 38.5. Two good defenses, two offenses that have disappointed up until this point. Aaron Rodgers, are you willing to start Davante Adams this week?
Yeah, I am.
How confidently?
Well, I think he'll get targets. I do. I think that, it's funny. I said that Davante Adams goes from being a wide receiver 2 in football, which he was. He was a mid-level wide receiver 2 in fantasy this year and last year, really. I mean, he finished like 10th overall, but on a points per game basis, he was more of a mid-range wide receiver 2. This year, mid-range wide receiver 2. I thought, the move to New York, I think the targets go down. Now, I said he moves from a wide receiver 2 to wide receiver 3, but when I was thinking wide receiver 3, I was thinking very high-end wide receiver 3, like right at that wide receiver 25 range, which is where like DK Metcalf, Deebo Samuel, I can't think of the other guy I was thinking of, Zay Flowers. These guys are all in that territory, about 14 to 15 points per game. That's kind of where I was seeing Davante Adams. I had people insanely upset about that. No, this guy's a wide receiver 1. Maybe he could be. Guy still is 32 years old. Yes, he played with Rodgers. Yeah, Rodgers could target him a lot, but we can't forget Garrett Wilson's on the team. And both of these guys have games this year with over 20 targets. That's not going to happen anymore. So this one, I'm willing to throw him in. But again, I still have him right there at like a wide receiver 25. So he's a wide receiver 2-3 territory for me this week.
What we're going to see is two guys doing two really cool things on the field. Targets are going to go down for both of them, but the offensive quality is going to go up for both of them, and that's a good thing. Davante Adams is going to be the field stretcher. Garrett Wilson's going to be your slant screen guy, working to break tackles. I love this for, I think, just darn near everyone involved, except for Allen Lazard. I'm sorry, buddy, but he's going to catch like 15 touchdowns, so it won't matter.
Yeah, no, I think it's tough. Maybe the offense, the offense may get a lot better. Andrew, they're bottom 10 in offense right now, though. Mm-hmm. They're bottom 10 in scoring. They haven't been that good on offense. So, yes, they could get better, but are they going to be all of a sudden top 10? Maybe. I don't know. Like, the offense has to get drastically better for all of these guys to thrive.
Here's the games they've been a part of. They played the Niners.
No, I get that. They've played some tough defenses.
The Titans, the Pats, the Broncos, Vikings, Bills.
You bring the Broncos up.
It's
the
not,
Broncos
it's not
were punting every down.
It's not just bad or hard defenses they're playing. They're just playing in the low-scoring affairs because the offenses connected to those teams have been bad. So it's hard to even get points in those games. I think they could be top half for sure.
Oh, no, I think so too. I'm just saying, like, it's possible, but we got to remember Rodgers is on the other side of 40. Devontae Adams is 32 years old. So I'm excited for it from a football sense. I'm more conservative in my projections, I guess.
Here's a data point I got to point out. Nathaniel Hackett is no longer the offensive coordinator, essentially, of this team. Like, he is, but he's not. New play caller in town, new guy in charge of the offense, and it saw Breece Hall get an absolute stranglehold on this backfield. He saw 86% of the snaps, 86% of the rushing attempts, in a 19% target share. If Breece Hall keeps getting that gets him back to that Christian McCaffrey-esque tier where you start him every week. Matchup doesn't matter. He will score points. Love to see that.
Oh, I have receipts, Andrew. I was screaming at people 2 weeks ago to buy Breece Hall. Screaming. We had him as a buy on the podcast. I had him in posts pointing out how favorable his schedule was moving forward, and that we talked about it. All the usage was there, and that window's closed now. Now, he had the good game. So I'm excited for Breece Hall. I think Breece Hall will be fine. I think this whole offense will be fine. It's just, I think, the passing game, I'm still a little bit more conservative on.
But Steelers.
Let's move on to Pittsburgh. So we're gonna get Russell Wilson this week.
Why?
I don't know.
Did you see Justin Fields? Justin, you're too good of a person. I'm so impressed by this. They asked Justin, "Oh, why do you think you're being benched this week?" Essentially, and he goes, "You know what? I just don't think I played well enough." Good for you, Justin. But say something audacious and diva-ish. You're getting benched for Russell Wilson, and you were playing well.
You know what? He out-Wilsoned Russell Wilson. That's what Russell Wilson would have said.
That's true.
He should go as Russell Wilson for Halloween because Russell Wilson would have said that exact same thing. I guess, you know what? I'm excited about everybody. So I'm not excited about Russell Wilson, but I'm excited about everybody else more so. I'm excited about Pickens, Najee Harris, Freiermuth. I think it's better for all these guys having Wilson than it is for Justin Fields. Similar to like how we feel about Anthony Richardson for those pass catchers in Indianapolis. But I don't really want to start any of them this week.
Nope.
I don't want to start George Pickens against that secondary that gives up the fourth fewest fantasy points.
I'm starting Tank Bigsby in a league over George Pickens this week.
Yeah, that's where we're at. And I don't want to start Freiermuth, and he's been good this year. He's been, I think, a top 10 tight end on the season. And I'm even looking, not only am I looking at the fantasy points that the defense is giving up overall, but I'm just looking at PFF grades, and they hate it too. They hate it for Pickens. It's a 0 on their scale. It's a 0 for Russell Wilson. It's a 0 for Freiermuth. I'm avoiding pretty much all of this offense in this matchup.
Yeah, I don't want any of it. Keep an eye on the Jalen Warren, Najee Harris split. We had Najee Harris as a sell on our last pod.
Yeah,
I'm really concerned. I don't start any Steeler in this game.
No.
I just can't do it.
Nope.
All right, let's get to a game where we're willing to start darn near anyone who has a pulse. It is the Ravens going up against the Buccaneers. Both offenses absolutely reeling. Both defenses have been scored on all year. We're ready for some fantasy points. Baltimore favored on the road by 3.5, over under 49.5. That's almost 3 games with an over under of over 50. Maybe that gets adjusted before Sunday anyway.
Yeah.
Who won't you start in this one?
Maybe Mark Andrews.
That's it. There's no tight ends in Baltimore. You can't do it.
It's actually a favorable matchup for tight ends too.
But who do you play?
I know. I don't know who to play. They have 3 of them that they play. I think only if you're desperate do you play Mark Andrews. I do have him ranked higher by a smidge than Isaiah Likely, but I couldn't tell you who's going to have the better game. But yeah, love Zay Flowers this week. It's actually not an amazing matchup for Derrick Henry, but it's fine. Where they've actually Tampa Bay's been getting beat is in the receptions to the running back. That's not going to happen with Henry.
Nope.
It doesn't matter. You just play Derrick Henry every week and you don't sweat it. Maybe he doesn't put up the kind of numbers he did against Dallas, but he's gonna have a good game, or against Buffalo. And then Lamar Jackson should put in I'd be surprised if he's not the overall QB1 on Tuesday, since they play Monday night. This is going to be a shootout, and the Bucs giving up the most completions, the third most fantasy points. They're giving up the fourth most passing yards. Yeah, they're giving up a ton of rushing yards too. So I think Lamar goes off in this one.
It's a Monday night doubleheader, and this is just going to be the one everyone's watching. There's so many points that are going to be scored. Zay Flowers, people got worried that he wasn't going to keep getting the targets. Guys, he's just the best passing option in this game and on this team. And anytime they have to throw, it's going to go through Zay Flowers. He got 12 targets in week 5, 9 targets in week 6, over 100 yards in both games. And this is a top 4 matchup for Zay Flowers, schedule adjusted. I'm excited.
We timed that one pretty good. We called him a buy. Well, I did, Andrew.
On the
you guys, yes. But you guys agreed with me.
Oh yeah.
You guys were like, no, we love it.
In the text chain, we went and we gave a thumbs up on the image. We said,
yeah. No, you were, and on the podcast, we all liked it. And he's come back with 9 targets last week, 12 targets the week before. He caught every target last week. He caught 7 the week before. Yeah, he had the dud against Buffalo, but that was just because they could not stop Derrick Henry. And those games will happen, but in a game like this, I think this is a game Zay Flowers goes off.
Let's say that your team is decimated on injuries. It just absolutely destroyed, and you have DJ Moore and CeeDee Lamb, and you need a receiver play. Will you start Rashad Bateman? Mind you, he's had 12 targets combined over the last 2 weeks. He's had 71 yards in one game and 58 yards in another. Are you willing to start Bateman?
If the matchup's there, let's just say that. The matchup's there for him to succeed, but I have him as a wide receiver 5 this week. Like, yeah, could he do something? Potentially. Do I want to trust it? No.
I'm a Rashad Bateman truther. I'm going to try to get you every time I can.
Yeah. It's just hard. You'd have to be in a pretty deep league to start him, in my opinion. Other side of the ball, though, you can start pretty much, well, at least the receiving options for the Bucs. Baker Mayfield, I talked about it on our last podcast. I think he's in for a special season. Baltimore, this is the year they are very beatable. Last year they weren't. Last year you did not want to start a quarterback or wide receivers against them. This year you do. They're giving up the most passing yards, the third most completions, the second most fantasy points. This all screams for Baker to do just fine against them. I got him as my QB5 this week. I think he's locked in he's absolutely going to finish top 10 this season. He could finish top 5. He's been amazing this year.
QB2 been on the year. QB2 overall.
Yeah. He's basically like Jared Goff from a few years ago, but better. Like, he's playing that well. Chris Godwin, the wide receiver 1 overall. Don't see that stopping. Like, I think he has a great game. Baltimore, a bottom 3 unit against wide receivers. Mike Evans hasn't been as good as Godwin. He's more of like borderline wide receiver 2 right now, but you got to play him. He's my wide receiver 13 on the week. Matchups there. I even think Cade Otton could be streamable in this one. Baltimore is beatable to the tight ends, so I've got him as a tight end too. Running backs, though, whoa, this is a mess. And we heard this week they're going with the hot hand. Well, which one's the hottest? Who's got the hotter hand? Well, we know who doesn't. We know White doesn't. So I'm just avoiding these running backs. Maybe, I guess I'd rank him Bucky Irving. I've got him as like an RB3. I'll be Sean Tucker after that, and then White. Are you in any disagreement there with me?
No, I mean, Bucky Irving, as much as Sean Tucker looked good and looked like he got a lot of work, this was Bucky Irving's offense until the game got so out of hand. They said, we'll just throw in the Sean Tucker guy and see what he does.
And
so
then
Bucky Irving is, you can play Bucky Irving if Rachaad White does not go. Otherwise, I am with you. I'll play Bucky Irving. I don't want to, though. Not in this matchup.
No, it's Baltimore, because they can't stop the pass. Teams just aren't running as much against them. And the Baltimore offense is on the field a lot. So that's the one downside, is the teams playing against Baltimore, because Baltimore, they're not punting a ton. It's just not as many plays. But I think that, this backfield for the most part is an avoid for me.
100%. Again, Bucky Irving only if everyone else is out. That's going to be a fun one on Monday Night Football.
Yep.
Here's the game we are going to avoid watching on Monday night. It is the Chargers at the Cardinals. It is the Chargers favored by -2.5. It's an over-under of 43.5. And it's just, J.K. Dobbins could rush for 2,000 yards in this game against the Cardinals as many times as they're going to run the ball.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is not going to be good for the Cardinals. Like Kyler Murray, not only is it a tough matchup for him, how many plays are they going to have? He's not going to have his top wide receiver. I don't think. Actually, let's see, Andrew. Like we just saw
He actually
Malik
practiced. He's actually
Did he
progressing.
really? He
He's
must not have had as
progressing
bad
through
a
the protocol.
concussion as Malik Neighbors did. Malik Neighbors missed 2 games.
Yep.
Well, maybe we will get him. Obviously, if you get Marvin Harrison, you got to play him, but not a good matchup. Chargers giving up the 5th fewest fantasy points to the wide receiver position, the fewest receptions. Excuse me, Andrew. They just this is slow pace for both sides, right? It's just I don't see a ton of plays. I'm not excited about anybody. I mean, Trey McBride, I've got him as a tight end 4 this week, but I'm not excited about really any of the offenses, which is sad because there's a lot of good offensive players in this one. And you're forced to start all of them. Although I don't think you have to start Kyler Murray. I think in a 1-quarterback league, I got him as QB 15 this week, Andrew. I think players like Sam Darnold, obviously Baker Mayfield over him. I think there's a lot of quarterbacks you can start over him.
It's just what you keep saying about the plays. Both of these teams play so slow. You're going to need explosives to make up for that, but both teams have been good at, the Chargers have been good at stopping explosives. Kyler Murray, man, he's had 2 games of 20 points or more. It's just not what we thought. You do not have to start him, and I hate saying that.
Yeah, it's actually better for the Chargers. Like, I actually kind of like their offensive weapons more. Like, I'm definitely playing J.K. Dobbins. PFF has it as a perfect matchup, 10 out of 10 for Dobbins. I think he goes off in this one. He led all running backs in touches last week. I think even if Gus Edwards goes in this one, which I don't know that he's going to, actually. I think he's still out. So I think that Dobbins is locked into a big workload in this one. So you're playing him.
Gus Edwards is on the IR.
That's right. He did go to IR.
So.
Well, actually, no, I don't. I guess I didn't realize he went to IR. I know he's out, but I don't know if I knew he went to IR.
He came out of nowhere.
Yeah. So yeah, Dobbins is locked in. Not starting Vidal yet. Like he's more of like a handcuff, wait and see kind of a thing. But Dobbins, definitely starting him. Herbert, great matchup. Don't care. Not playing Herbert, which is so sad. So sad to say. I do think you can play Ladd McConkey, though, in this one. Very good matchup. The Cardinals, bottom 10 unit against wide receivers in every meaningful statistic. He's the one guy I think you can trust in that offense. Would I be shocked if Quentin Johnston has a good game? Not at all. I think he could score a touchdown. Just too hard to trust, though.
Ladd McConkey even scoring touchdowns. He's got 2, which isn't a lot, but they're not throwing for touchdowns in LA. So relatively, that feels like a lot. It's gross. Cardinals, you were supposed to be the thing for us. You're of course starting Trey McBride. I'm selling Marvin Harrison still. I don't like any of it.
Yeah. No, and like I said, I really don't like Kyler Murray rest of the season. I liked him coming into this year. But now that we know what defenses are looking like, his schedule just looks too bad. And yeah, he's gonna have his games, but I think he's playing uphill from here on out.
That's week 7. That's every game. There's some good ones in there, but there's also some absolutely disgusting ones as there are every week still. It's football, and we're excited. Thank you for tuning into the Fantasy Guides podcast. That is a Stephen Rippey who somehow managed to stay awake amidst the NyQuil in the flu game.
It's kicking in, though.
So great work there, Stephen. You're going to get out there and go watch a Broncos game. Make sure
that'll put me to sleep. That's going to be fun.
100%. There's no way Saints Broncos doesn't do
Bubba
that
means, or is it Bub? Bub means. Yeah, that's gonna be a nice little lullaby for me.
I'll make my new baby girl watch it. It'll put her right to bed. It'll be excellent.
For sure. Yep.
And make sure you guys hit and like that subscribe button. Guys, get in my DMs. If you have questions, suggestions for the pod, get in them. My DMs have been empty this year. It's been weird. I've been helping a couple people and not as busy. So make sure you follow me at Toysher_FG if you want more. Follow us on X, Instagram. Go to the fantasyguides.com and pick you up a season guide. Follow our main page, of course, at Fantasy Guides on all the social media platforms. Rate, review, share if you like what you're getting. I'm Andrew Toysher. That's the sick Stephen Rippey. Say goodbye to the friends at home.
Thanks, Andrew.